We're live. Okay, so Devon, we are going live on YouTube as well as the audience. So, but you ain't got to worry about it because we got the camera on you. So you just do your thing, okay? So y'all give him a hand. Welcome to the stage, Devon Kennard. Thank you. I appreciate you for being
I want to thank. Can you guys hear me good? You want me to? All right. Yo, yo. All right. So, my name is Devon Kennard. I'm here, and reason why this is one of my last stops on my book tour, but reason why I come in here to Fort Worth and um, Flex. Oh, you don't want none of that. You don't want none of that. But reason why this was important to me is for my family. Our journey started here in Dallas, in the state of Texas. I'm a second generation NFL player. My dad played for the Cowboys. He won a Super Bowl in 1996. And my claim to fame growing up was being on my dad's shoulders in a Sports Illustrated article after he won the Super Bowl. So I grew up a Cowboys fan. I was, how much I weigh? I'm 260. You're going to be able to ask all the questions. This is going to be interactive. But I'm giving a little background. So I was young when I lived here. I was a little kid, but this is where it kind of started for me in this state, and this city changed my life and my family's life forever. And so it was important for me to come back here in the community where I feel like a lot of you guys, obviously born and raised, are growing up here, and it matters. It's important. Um, but one thing I kind of realized as I started to get older, and why I wrote my book, it all adds up, is my parents got out of a bad situation. They grew up in a town called Stockton, California. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst cities in the country. A lot of violence, and my parents got out of that situation because of my father making it to the NFL, and he gave me and my siblings a better life. But one thing I realized along the way is like, man, there's so many kids out there who don't realize what they can accomplish and get themselves out of the circumstance, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever you are doing, and the change that it could have in your life and the impact that you can be on your family. Every single one of you guys, the impact you can be, the change in your family. And I'm the product of somebody who made those decisions for my family. This is what it looks like. My upbringing is a lot different than my father's upbringing because of the decisions he made. So, I like talking to kids your guys' age, because the decisions you begin to make, it impacts and changes generations. And you may not see it now, but the decisions you make day in and day out, they matter. And it really starts to, it all adds up. That's what my book is called. The decisions you make now, you think you're young and it doesn't matter. You can do whatever and make all these mistakes, but the decisions you're making, it really does impact down the line, and you can get yourself out of bad situations by making better and better decisions day in and day out. And I started to realize, I went to USC for college. It's Southern California. It's in LA. And one thing I began to really dislike as I started to be in college and I'm getting educated, I felt like us as minorities in this country weren't playing the same game that white people were. Keeping it real. We weren't getting the same access. We weren't having the same resources. We weren't being taught the same things. I was privileged enough to grow up in a good community, to go to a good university, and I was getting exposed to things I've never heard of. And I had this idea in college about the book that I wanted to write, because I'm like, man, I wanted to be one of the bridges that gave information to more people of color throughout the country on, learning about how to think about finances and the decisions you can make and how you can impact and completely change your life by your outlook on finances. And once I started to like see that and realize it, I became infatuated with learning about financial literacy and learning about how to invest, how not to lose your money, how to get out of a tough situation. And like one thing I really, it kept kind of coming back to is like, man, we see things differently. Like for me growing up, I could never talk to my parents about finances. It was like, I get slapped in the head if I ask my parents like certain questions about what our financial situation looked like. And, you know, that culture isn't the same in a lot of different cultures. It's more open. There's more dialogue. Kids are taught differently, but now you guys have the initiative to where you can start to learn even if you're not getting that at home. And one thing I really like kind of realized is we don't look at it that way, but our financial well-being impacts our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being as well. And I'll give you a good example that I think of. My grandmother died about 10 years ago, and I remember like a constant conversation when she was sick was like, "Grandma, go to the doctor." She never wanted to go to the doctor because she was worried about those expenses. Anybody got a story similar, family member, like something like that? And it's like, dang, like she don't want to go to the doctor because she worried about the bill, not her physical health. You know what I mean? And we do that same thing in every aspect of our life. So people talk about like, I don't care about money, or money doesn't matter, or money doesn't buy happiness, and money doesn't buy happiness. But like having a financially stable life and pursuing that, it impacts all different every other aspect of your life. And I feel like too many marginalized communities act like it doesn't, and act like it doesn't matter, or they can never achieve it, so they just give up, they don't try. And I'm here to say, whatever background you guys are coming from, whatever your circumstances and situations are at home, you can completely change your life and change generations and be the change in your family by the decisions you make and how your perspective and valuing and taking seriously learning about finances, just like you would learn about anything else at school. It's that important, and it's that pivotal in your life. And one story I wanted to kind of show you that I talk a lot about in my book, that is kind of the backbone of the book. I'm a Christian. I don't know what you guys believe in, and that's irrelevant here. But there's a story in the Bible that's really, really impactful for me that I use in the Bible, and the story goes something like this: there's three servants and a master, and the master is getting ready to go on a long trip, and he comes to one servant, and he's like, "I'm going to give you 5 bags of gold. I want you to take this money and invest it, start businesses, go do something with it, and bring me back and show me what you do with it when I get back." He says the same thing to another guy, and he gives him 2 bags of gold. He says the same thing to the third guy, and he gives him 1 bag of gold. So he gives one guy 5, another guy 2, another guy 1. He leaves, and he's gone for years. They don't clarify exactly how long he's gone, but he's gone for a long time, and he comes back. When he comes back, the servant with 5 bags of gold said, "Master, I did this. I did this, this, and this. This is what I did with what you gave me." And he turned 5 bags into 10. So he flipped the bag. He turned 5 into 10. The guy with 2 bags of gold, he turned 2 into 4. He said, "Master, I invested it. I did this, this, and this with the money. Here's your 2 bag plus 2 more. Here's 4." The guy with 1 bag didn't do anything, and he buried the money and was like, "Master, I didn't know what to do. Here's the bag back. I didn't want to lose your money." And in the story, the guy with 1 bag is never mentioned again in the Bible. He's denounced. He's kind of pushed aside. He's never mentioned again. And the master kind of raises the other two servants to high levels within his business and within the household. And one thing it made me realize is we got to all make sure that none of us are ever the person with 1 bag. We all have a different set of cards in our life. Um, whatever your circumstances are, our focus needs to be in maximizing our opportunity and flipping the bag in our life. If you're a person who doesn't have a lot or comes from tough background, tough circumstances, a tough family dynamic, like stop comparing yourself to anybody else and just think about how you can improve your life financially. But this applies to all aspects of life. How do you flip the bag in your life and take 1 bag to 2, 2 to 4, etc., and moving on from there. And there's too many people, especially in minority communities, who just lay down and quit and give up in life because their circumstances are hard, and or they don't think they can make it, or they don't know how to make it, so they just don't really try. And I'm here to encourage every single one of you guys to make a mindset shift and start to flip the bag in your life and change, because it doesn't matter what you got, but what you do with what you got. So for me, I always had a chip on my shoulder because being a second generation NFL player, which you could probably imagine, I got a lot of talk of like, your dad played in the league. You got it easy. You got it easy. And my mindset was always like, my dad had it hard. He made it easy for me, but judge me on what I do with what I've been given. So if I just keep myself here and I just never become anything, never do anything with my life, never work hard, never try to achieve anything, then you could say that. But I'm gonna take the position my dad has bestowed upon me with the decisions he made, and I'm gonna make more of myself, and I'm gonna kind of stand on his shoulders and do even more. So that was my mindset as being somebody who like, all right, you have a little bit because you come from money, or you come from a dad who played. So whether you can relate to my story personally, or you're a person who doesn't have as much and you need to get it out the mud a little bit, you can do it and you can change your life. And that message for me has always been so powerful because it 100% relates to finances and money and figuring out what to do with your money and all of these things. But it also relates to other aspects of your life. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So, for me, growing up, people was always like, "Oh, you're a good athlete," and surprised that I actually tried hard in school and stuff. But that concept of how you do anything is how you do everything. If you want to achieve something in life, you can't pick and choose what you're going to be good at. I want to be the best football player I can be. I wanted to be the best student I could be. I wanted to be the best son I could be. Like, you got to achieve, you got to strive for greatness in all aspects of your life. So I want you to think about the different roles that you have in your life right now. Are you an older brother or sister? Are you, obviously you're a son or daughter. You're a student. Some of you play sports. Some of you guys, when I walked in, were playing instruments. You have something that you are into, and you need to be striving to be excellent and chase excellence in all the different roles you play in your life. Because if you're saying, I'm only going to try hard in this but not that, like, you're not going to reach your full potential in anything, because it doesn't work out that way. You can't pick and choose what you're going to try to be great at, and then you kind of BSing around in every other category. And once you have that mindset, your standard of life starts to improve, and the decisions you make, it becomes easier and easier. So, I really think that was like kind of an important thing that I kind of realized, and why I started to live and make certain decisions, because I felt like if I had a different vision for my life than a lot of people around me, I couldn't be doing what everybody else is doing. So if you say you want to get out of your situation, and you hanging around busters that not working hard trying to get out of the situation, like, if you want something different, you got to do something different. So, I want you guys to think about that. Are you challenging yourself? What do you want for your life? What do you want your life to look like? Where are you trying to take it? Are you trying to change circumstances? Are you trying to go to college? Are you trying to, whatever it is you're trying to pursue? And if you're doing exactly what everybody else is doing around you, how do you expect to get ahead of them in any way? And a relation I had to that when I was like in high school is like, I always had dreams of playing professional ball. So my mindset was, all right, we had team workouts and we did everything as a team, but I needed to go do more outside of that. So I went and ran extra on my own. I went and got extra lifts on my own, because everybody else around me, they was content with just playing high school ball. If I get a scholarship, cool. When I always had a vision of, I want to play professionally. So I'm here standing here today because when I was your guys' age, I was making small decisions that was setting me apart. And there's something called compound effect in finances, where it's like, if you invest $1 and you get a return, say you get a 10% return, that's $1.10 on your dollar that you just invested. That's 10%. Well, next time around, you invest $1.10, and it starts to compound. All of a sudden, 10% on $1.10, $1.10 is now $1.12. So now you got $2.22, and it starts to compound rapidly. And all of a sudden, a dollar invested every day can turn into millions of dollars in 10, 15, 20 years. People don't realize that, and they don't see it, so they're not willing to invest that dollar day in and day out. So that applies in finances, and then it applies in all other aspects of your life. You think the little decisions you making day in and day out, they don't matter. You could get by. Who cares? When I'm here to tell you, those decisions matter. It all adds up. They stack up. Decisions you make day by day, it makes an impact on your life. I'm living testament. I've seen it day in and day out. And I have a friend who's going to be coming here shortly. That I'll tell his story when he gets here. But it's the same kind of thing to where the decisions you start to make can really impact and change your life. So those are like some of the main keys that I wanted to kind of leave you guys with. And a lot of this, there's more to say, but I kind of wanted to make sure I left it interactive. So like as we're going, like anybody got questions, comments, you could ask me football stuff, finance stuff, life stuff, but I want to make sure everybody gets a lot out of this opportunity. And this is what I'm here for. So, I want to keep it interactive. Ask me anything. I know you have some questions. Extremely challenging. One of the biggest, some of the biggest challenges I got punched in the mouth when I was in high school because, not literally, but like, for me, I was a top athlete, and in my senior year of high school, I tore my ACL, and I felt like my dreams were like falling apart around me. I had scholarships to go everywhere in the country, and all of a sudden I tear my ACL, which is one of the worst injuries you can have as an athlete. And now I'm like, dang, how am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? Felt like my dreams were like, falling apart on me. And then I get to college and I start having more and more injuries. I've had 6 surgeries. I changed positions in college. It looked like my dreams were slipping away, and I didn't know what to do with like my future. And I didn't think I was going to be here today. Like to be standing here 9 years in the NFL, going into my 10th season in the NFL, it's a testament to grace, grace of God, but also hard work and making those decisions. So it definitely wasn't an easy journey, and it's still not easy now. I'm a free agent right now. I just played the last 3 years for the Cardinals, but I was drafted by the New York Giants. I played for 4 years, so I used to play against the Cowboys all the time. Uh, I've been blessed. I've hit a couple of contracts in my career. Yeah. When I was with the Giants, I was 59. Then I went to Detroit for 2 years. I wore 42, and then I went to the Cardinals and I was 42. 42 was my college number at USC, so that was my favorite number coming up. What are the questions? The smartest financial decision I ever made, I would say it was making the decision to believe in delayed gratification. And what I mean by that is I got into the league and like I got a little money, right? And a lot of people was buying cars and living in a. I'm in New York City, so the guys was living in expensive high rises, seeing the city. Like, you don't come from nothing, or you first time you got some real money in your pocket, and guys was just spending it. And my mindset was like, I wanted some of these nice things, but I immediately made the decision that I was going to invest first and then buy those things with income coming in from investments because I knew one thing that was guaranteed is my NFL career was going to end at some point. And when I first got in the league, I was a fifth round draft pick, which is late. There's only 7 rounds in the draft. And the whole talk was he might be a special teams guy. He's going to play 1 or 2 years, not going to play. So it's like, even if I only played that short amount of time, I wanted to save as much of this money so I can put myself in position. So I got made fun of, but I brought my high school car to the NFL. It was a 2005 Kia Sorento, and I drove that my first year and a half in the league instead of buying a car. And then even after that, I worked a deal with the dealership to get a car um, that I didn't have to pay for. So I wasn't buying cars trying to be flashy. I was trying to save my money. And those decisions impacted me a ton. The biggest mistake I see people make, at least in my world, in the sports realm, is they come from all different kind of backgrounds. They finally get money. And my thing is like, you work so hard to get to the point where you got money, and guys get there and they don't work as hard to keep it or to learn what to do with it. Like, it's like, man, you've been wanting to buy moms a crib and get into a good situation and be able to buy, steak and lobster your whole life. And you finally get there and oh, I want that chain. I want that car. I want this house. Like, and you running through it instead of having the mindset of like, I want to save as much as I can, save as much as I can, and learn what to do with it. So for me, putting my like purchasing stuff on pause has probably had the most impact, the best impact on my life. And because then it forced me to be like, all right, what can I invest in that could one day buy me the stuff that I want? And like, that's what I want to challenge you. You talk about rich people and how they think. It's not they don't want nice things. I was meeting and talking with like a billionaire one time, and how they think is like, how can I want to buy I want to have a jet, a private plane. Everybody like in the league like, oh, PJ, yada yada yada. The billionaire's mindset is, what business can I buy that generates enough revenue that could pay for my jet? That's how they think. When us in our community, it's like, how can I make enough money to go buy that jet? You get what I'm saying? It's a little detailed, little minor switch, but like that minor thing, they're buying assets that then pays for the things they want. We're earning money to pay for the things we want. And that same transition is in the NFL. Guys get into the NFL and they making money to go buy the things they want. And all I challenge every one of you guys to start to think about is, how can I make money, invest it, and then buy what I want? I'm still, I like nice things, man. Like, I got a nice watch on right now. I drive a nice car now. I just had delayed gratification and was like, I'm gonna buy those things later because I want to buy things that can then buy it for me. And people like, when I told that story or that analogy in the past, one issue that people say is like, oh, that's easy for like a billionaire to say with the aircraft, but you can condense that same philosophy down to, you want to buy a Charger one day, and that's a car. A lot of people, how can I invest in things that could get me a down payment on that Charger one day? Like, it's a mindset thing, not a dollar amount thing. So how billionaires think, we can think. We just condense it down to what our goals are and what we're trying to accomplish. And um, you know, like communities and in the black community and in minority communities, we don't think that way, and that's why we don't build wealth, and then when we do get into money, we end up losing. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so there's a lot of things you can invest in, but for me personally, stocks is obviously a great thing, but people feel like they can't get into stocks and all that. And one thing I want to like kind of teach you guys about is ETFs. And ETFs, you can start. I don't know. Has anybody heard of Robinhood.com or Robinhood the app? You can open a Robinhood account. There might be an age limit, so I don't know for sure. You might have to do it with or through your parents or what have you. But you can open up an account and you can invest in things called ETFs, which is essentially like one of my favorite ones. It has the analogy VOO. And an ETF takes the best companies in America and allows you to invest in all of them at once. So some people, where people go wrong often, is they're trying to invest and they're buying individual stocks and they see it go down and they like, I lost all my money, I'm pulling it. Well, investing in ETFs, you don't need a financial advisor, you don't need anyone. You could Google the top ETFs in the country and invest as little as $1 into one of these ETFs. And like the VOO that I mentioned, it has all the S&P 500 companies in the in America, and you're investing in all of them if you get in there. So to start, when I'm like talking to people, I'm like, where should you start? Start putting a couple dollars a month in ETFs. Um, through a brokerage account like Robinhood or any other bank that you or your family may bank with, that you can get access, because you can diversify well. And while you guys are young, like, instead of your parents give you $20 to go buy that video game, man, like, start to teach yourself to invest a little bit of it and build that habit and grow the money. So I think that's a great way to invest. And then also, something I invest a lot in that I don't think African Americans and minority communities do enough is in real estate. And we write ourselves off that, oh, it's too expensive to get into real estate. when people don't learn all the different ways that you can get into real estate. There's people making hundreds of thousands of dollars investing little to no money because they're learning the game of real estate, learning the different avenues of how to invest in real estate and how to earn money through real estate. But ownership is a great thing. So my mindset has always been to I want to invest in assets like real estate to that brings me an income. So let's say one of you guys are living in my property, you're paying me rents that's covering my mortgage. So I'm not paying my mortgage. Your rent's paying my mortgage, and whenever that payment is done, I'm keeping the rest. So if your parents are paying me $1,000 to live in the house some of you guys live in, and my mortgage is $500, I'm paying my mortgage off, so I'm paying down the loan with $500, and I'm pocketing the other $500. That's another way to really build revenue, and there's ways to get into real estate even when you don't have a lot of money to start. So I think like that's something people just don't learn about because they it's the perception that you have to have all this money, and I challenge them to start to learn the game of real estate and how they can get access because it unlocks a lot of financial like opportunities for you when you can do it properly. So I would say, yeah, to start ETFs, but I challenge you guys to learn about real estate because home ownership and investing in actual assets is huge. And the third is businesses, starting businesses. You look at all the wealthiest people in America and really the world, and they're all most of their worth is tied to some type of large business. You look at like Tyler Perry, he's a billionaire. Most of his money is tied through his production company. You look at Kanye West, most of it's tied through Yeezys. Everybody knows the Yeezy brand. You look at Jay Z, most of his money is tied through Rock Nation. You look at Kevin Hart, he's on the way to billionaire. He started companies like so. All the wealthy black people, they're in businesses, real estate, and they own stocks. So if you want to learn how to change your financial life, start to look at what people are doing and the moves that they are making. And obviously, you're not going to be able to start and run some $1 billion business today, but challenge yourself to think outside the box and how can I start to move in the direction that these people are moving. And there's things you could do at a young age, at least mindset wise, and learning and teaching yourself. And one of the biggest things that you guys can do, being younger and being in middle school, high school, whatever grade you guys are in, is for looking ahead and putting yourself in good position by thinking about college. Are you like, is college worth going to as far as what degree do you want to get in? I'll give you guys an example. I have a friend who went to USC with me, and if you're not on scholarship, I was on football scholarship. If you're not on scholarship, USC is $70,000 a year, ridiculous. And I have a friend who had to pay that mostly, got some scholarships that had to pay that mostly out of pocket. So he was in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. He got out of college and he got a good job, but he had so much debt that he had to pay off. So one thing young people don't realize, and their parents teach them, is like everybody wants their kid to be the first one to go to college, and I think education is extremely important. But as you guys need to think about what what am I going to major in, and where do I want to go to college, and does it make sense for me and my situation and what I want to become? Because I've seen so many people get in a ton of debt, and that weighs down your potential for reaching financial freedom. So that's something. And then getting in really deep credit card debt is debilitating for a lot of people. So being smart about not spending more than you should financially and putting too much on credit cards, those are the things that is weighing down marginalized communities in America. You know, um, like you got to learn to play the game. Don't let the game play you. So you see all these credit cards and they got all these reward systems and stuff. They're doing that because they want more people to get credit cards and spend it, knowing most people aren't even tapping into the rewards and all the things that they could do. They're just getting in debt and paying them crazy interest rates. So for me, I use credit cards, but I try to pay them off every month, so I'm never having to pay that debt. But now I get to take advantage of the reward points. So it's like like really, it all boils back down to learning about finances, so you can like learn the game and not like be just a victim of it. And I think that's what we're innately taught in our communities throughout the country. And it's like, how do we begin to change that, change our perspective, change our mindset? Okay, let's go. I would say start to show that you serious. Because when they see like you're actually like, oh, you're reading books on it, you're Googling it, you're watching YouTube videos on it, like you guys got access, more access than any generation ever has with the internet, books, your phone. I'm sure most of you guys got cell phones, smartphones. So utilize that. And at first, your family ain't gonna be hearing it. Like you don't know what you're talking about. But as you start learning more, asking good questions, actually knowing what you're talking about, you start they start to look at you differently. Because it's like, wow, like you'll be surprised if you start to do that. Like a couple years from now, you'll probably have family members coming to you asking you financial questions. And that's the shift. So like you be the person in your family that starts to like change that and learn about this. What happens in many communities is like people wait till they're too far gone to learn about it, and they're learning about it by being surprised by it with life hitting them in the mouth as far as circumstances and, oh, I got to pay this car debt and all these things. So be proactive while you're young on like learning what debt is, learning what interest rates are, learning what a bank account is, and how to open one, how to close one. Like, take the time to learn these things, and there's tons of this information out there for you. So I would say, like, before you bring it home to your family, take personal interest in actually learning about it, because the more you know, the more serious that they'll take you down the line. I play outside linebacker, but I sack quarterbacks. You play a little ball? What position? DN? Oh, my man. Let's go. I like it. I like it. What else? Any questions? Ask away. Without doing anything? I think to make money, it takes, you have to work hard, but I believe in passive income streams. Like my life goal is to be able to not have to always work for money. But our mindset is we got to trade time for money. And once again, like the wealthy don't see it that way. So you do have to do that for a time period, but you can set things up. And a good example is like if you're people who own or start small businesses. When you first start the business, you are the business. You got to set it up. You got to open up the store, get the store. You got to get everything lined up. But the end goal should always be, how can I build the right infrastructure to where one day I can remove myself and the business is still operating. But and that's like the next level that a lot of people don't get to. So an example I have of that, and like my brother like went through, like he had a small gym where he trained athletes. My brother coached me and trained me most of my career, and like running his business, he was the main trainer and ran the gym. But you got to eventually remove yourself and have trainers in the gym that can train. So if we're going on vacation, or if he's coming to watch me in a game, it's not like he's losing money because the business is still operating. So you might not be able to do that day one, but your mindset should be, how could I one day remove myself from the business? And when you have that mindset, I have the same perspective in real estate. I mentioned I invest in real estate. I don't want, if you and your family are renting from me, I don't want to have to get a call from you guys when the toilet's clogged. I hire property managers that deal with that, and so I'm like a step removed from that. So I'm never dealing with that day to day. I set it up to where I'm able to focus on football while still investing in real estate. Like I mentioned, investing in ETFs and how easy that is. I have it automated where I put a certain amount into an investment every month, so it's effortless, and I know that amount's going in there. So there's things that you can do to make money without working, but it takes work up front, and many people aren't willing to have the dog days of putting the work in up front so they can benefit down the line. But all it is a mindset shift of like how do I do that? You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm a free agent right now. I want to play at least one more year because I just finished my ninth year, and my body is starting to talk to me. But I want to hit 10. I want to hit 10. No, I'm not retired. So I'm a free agent. I I'll probably retire after this season. I want to play one more. I got my undergrad degree in communication, and I actually got my master's degree in communication management. So my mindset when I went to college is like I felt like I hit the jackpot. I get to go to USC for free because I'm good at football. So I'm gonna like this. This is what kills me about kids, and I might be calling some of you guys out right now. But I had friends when I was in college, and they didn't take school serious and was failing classes, which made them have to redo the class. And I'm like, I don't like school either. I'm gonna do as good as I can with it, so I could be done with this mess. So I'm like, it's a mindset shift. Like you said, you hate school, like you're not trying to do that. Pass the class, so you don't got to take that one again. Like, so for me, people always ask like, how was I able to get my undergrad and master's degree while I was in college? I picked a major, I stuck to it, and I passed all my classes. Like, it wasn't rocket science. So I got my undergrad and master's degree, and it put me in a position where I was done with uh, done with school once I got into the NFL, and I was one of the few people who had an undergrad and master's degree the day they got drafted, and people was always like impressed by that, and my thing was always like, man, I just did what seemed obvious to me is like work hard to pass the classes so I don't got to go back. I have friends now who are like have families and millions of dollars in the bank, and they're going back to their college to try to finish their degrees because they failed 6 classes while they was in college. Like you working backwards, bro. Like so, once again, a mindset shift on how to look at school, and like you guys, while you guys are in school, you got to look at education as a way to help out of your circumstance. You ain't got to love school, but leverage it and utilize it to put you in a position to get to better your circumstance. You don't like school, you whatever. It is a means to an end to get what you ultimately want. So play the game. Don't let the game play you. You gonna fail classes, not graduate high school, or take way longer. You working backwards and making it hard on yourself when it's just like, bro, lock in, get it done, and let it propel you into the other things that you want to pursue. So that mindset shift I think is really important. Y'all, oh, brother. So I mean, and that's why I was like, I wanted to finish my undergrad as fast as I could because I'm like, I'm gonna hit these dudes over. Hey, well, what you want me to do? I graduated years. Now I'm gonna get my master's, and y'all got to pay for that. You know, so now being a black man in this world and to be respected, I'm in the room that I wouldn't have access to being like, oh, I'm Devon Kennard. I got my undergrad and master's degree from USC. Like, put some respect on my name. All because I had that mindset. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And it's really sad. So one thing I talk about in the book as well is like this concept of vices. And what I found one of our biggest struggles is God like you should not have more than one or two vices in your life. And I think that even applies to you guys now. And vices are essentially is like what you're willing to spend money on. And the guys that I've seen struggle, they they want to be the jewelry guy, the car guy, the house guy, the clubbing guy, the vacation guy. Like they trying to look popping in all categories, and so they spinning it from both ends, and then they put themselves in a position. I had a friend I saw it in real time. Like when I got to Detroit, I signed my second contract. It was a nice deal to go to the Lions, and I had a teammate who wasn't making half the amount that I was making, but you would think he was like making money like Matthew Stafford and with the car he was driving and how he was moving. And I would tell him, slow down, whatever, and wouldn't listen. He thought he knew it all. He thought he was about to get more money, all these things, and it was sad because like a couple years later, that same dude was asking me for money, and it's like, bro, like I saw how you was living, like you didn't see the writing on the wall, so it's sad to see, but you see that more times than not. I don't know if he ended up going bankrupt, but he was in financial distress for sure. That like man, the people around you is often the biggest hurdle that you got to get over at times because they hold you back in so many different ways, and you got to be resilient in in what you're trying to accomplish. And my mindset is like I really wanted this for my life, and this is how I'm gonna move. And you got to be able to kind of ignore the peer pressure. I remember I was in college and like, man, I wasn't always at the parties. I wasn't the super popular popping dude because I was in my books. I was getting extra work in, and that took discipline. It sucked at times. Like if you want your life to look different, it ain't gonna be easy and it ain't always gonna be fun. Like I had to sacrifice now. Like do what you got to do now so you can do what you want to do later. And when I was in those moments where families pulling me down, friends pulling me down, I know what I should be doing, but they're trying to get me to do something else. They're trying to. It's like, man, I got to make the sacrifices and the hard decisions now because I want something different for myself. I know what those decisions are going to lead me to, and it's not easy. It takes some self pride and self resistance, and to deny peer pressure of just going with the crowd. But if you go with the crowd, you're going to get the same life that everybody in your family, everybody, all your friends, everything you see around you. So I would kind of always remind myself of that. But to act like that's easy, that's why most people don't get ahead. That right there, because eh, they let their family keep them down. They let their friends, or they want to be cool and do that. But like, if you want to take the next step, you got to be willing to be different and do those things. Absolutely, absolutely. I got you, man. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. So I chose a communication major. Being real, it was the football major to get. It was like one of the easier degrees, but also I felt like it would apply. Like communication majors, like broadcasting, how to communicate, like a whole conversation. But I thought it was stuff that could apply to whatever I wanted to do. I wasn't sure what I wanted to like graduate college, or like what exactly my job was going to be outside of the football. So I was like, let me get something broad like communication. One, it was supposed to be one of the easier degrees. Two, I felt like I could leverage it and apply it to whatever it is I wanted to do. So that was kind of my mindset with it. Believe it or not, there's not a lot of that has gone on. You're starting to see it happening more now, but there wasn't a ton of that. Like when I first got in the league, and me even writing this book, I was kind of taking a big leap of faith in it because it's like the whole notion of like shut up and dribble, focus on your sport. It was a bad look. It was funny. I got like negative comments in the locker room from coaches and players when I started to be vocal about finances. It's like, man, focus on football. And my mindset is like, you got the guys who's in the clubs all night and playing video games and doing all this other stuff with their free time. in my free time, I'm locked in on financing and learning about this, and I'm looked down upon. So for me, like I feel like that narrative is beginning to change in the league, and you're seeing guys come together more on stuff. But I hope to be a big part of that moving forward for sure. Any other questions? I'm 31. I know that probably sounds old as heck to y'all. What's crazy is I remember I was like y'all's age like it was yesterday. And then for somebody who was 31, I'd be like, dang, you old. But I swear I don't feel that old. Yeah. Um, so your first question, the whole Colin Kaepernick, that was such a weird like thing within the league, and you had to make a real judgment call on like how you were going to move and how you were going to react. I sat back for a minute and I kind of was seeing what was going on, and like man, there, like he was at the front lines with it, but there's a lot of men who lost favor in the NFL by taking a knee. And keeping it all the way real with you, my mindset was like, I worked my whole life to get to this point. I want to make as much money in the league as I can, and I'm not going to give them a reason to get me up out of here earlier than I want. So I respect everyone who did kneel, I, but my mindset was also I was actually in the community trying to make impact. And the way that I felt, I've been talking about finance to nonprofit organizations since I got into the league, and I felt like changing mindset about finance is a way to change a lot of perspectives and change like so. I felt like I was approaching it the way that fit me, and taking a knee for me I didn't feel like it was the right decision. It's unfortunate. I don't think it's fair, but I saw a lot of guys either lose their job outright or lose a lot of favor and end up fading out of the NFL by their decision to take a knee. And it got ugly for a lot of guys. My only complaint to some of the guys who did it is like keeping it real. I think some of it was clout chasing to be one of the guys that was kneeling, but not all of them was doing work in the community. And the guys who was taking a knee but not doing work in the community, I personally lost respect for. Because it's like you doing it for the cameras and being a part of the narrative on Sundays, but like our off day is Tuesday. If you're doing that on Tuesday, you better be in the trenches in the community trying to make a change. And that wasn't always the case, and that's the part of it that I was like, I can't respect it. But Colin was really doing it on both ends, so it's like he was a martyr, so to speak, in that realm for sure. And then as far as reading, um, I always liked books. I didn't read a ton, but like if I got into a book, it was like I'll lock in and finish it in a couple of days. I always, but what I realized is it's one of the coolest hobbies because whatever your circumstances and situation is, it could take you completely out of your world for a minute in a different way. Some of my favorite books growing up were The Alchemist. If you guys haven't read that, I recommend it. That that was like kind of one of my favorites. And then To Kill a Mockingbird and Catcher in the Rye. Like I just felt like it was so cool to kind of like get into a whole nother world. Now it's hard for me to open a book and read. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I travel a lot and I'm driving a lot. So I feel like listening is how I get through books at a higher clip now. But it's still one of my favorite things to do because I'm in a phase of like a lot of personal development growth books. I like reading a lot of autobiographies. It's inspiring, and the reason why I'm sharing a lot of my story tonight, it's inspiring hearing somebody else's story. Because, for instance, one of the recent ones I read was like Kevin Hart's book, and like you see Kevin Hart now, and he's arguably the biggest comedian in the world right now. But like hearing his dog days of how he grew up, sleeping in cars, like it's like the humble beginnings. You see people and how successful they are, and you think you could never reach that. So it's cool when you could tie it all in to like how they began, and like wow, when you know somebody's beginning, and then now you see their now, it's like if he could do it, why can't I? One story I forgot to tell that kind of changed that perspective for me on why I got into real estate was I was at USC and there was a mentor. I was meeting as many like wealthy, successful people as I could find. And there's one guy who was into real estate, and I asked to come and meet him, and I went in his office, and he started out as a police officer, and he was very transparent to me. He was making $44,000 a year as a police officer in LA, and he bought one house, and his wife and him lived in it for a year and a half. He made it look nicer, moved out, bought into another house, and then you fast forward to the day that I sat with him, and he owned over 1,000 units in Los Angeles, and managed. He has his own property management business, managed over 6,000. And that day completely changed my life because I'm like, that man built a real estate empire off of a $44,000 salary being a police officer. If he could do it doing that, then even if I play 1 year in the NFL and I get a nest egg of $100,000 or $200,000 and I never play another down, that's my seed money. I got no excuse to go and try to go do something with my life. So that one meeting completely changed my life, and that's a cheat code I recommend to all of you out there. Is like, meet people who are successful in doing what they do. You don't got to do it alone. There's people who can accelerate and help you get to your goals, whether it's sports, money, business, school, whatever you're trying to achieve. You ain't got to do it alone. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, build a team, build people you can help and lean on. And a lot of my success in every facet of my life, I can't say it's all been on me. It's been the people I seek to surround myself around and put in position that's allowed me to go to new levels. So I think that's a great lesson to think about. And that's why I like autobiographies, but that's why I think like me sharing my story and meeting and using some of the leaders in the room that brought you guys, like, use that to your advantage. The people within your sphere that might be able to help you take your life to the next level, take advantage of it to the best of your ability, because that's how you start to create advantages for yourself to move ahead positively. That's fine. We could just yeah. Okay. What are we doing? Up here?
You can sit down and sit behind me.